Before we dive into today's episode, I want to tell you about a free 3-act worksheet to help you structure your story. Whether you're a plotter or a pantser, a novelist, or short fiction writer, this 3-act worksheet will help you navigate your material and even begin each new story with a better plan. Download yours at nancypanuccio.com/act. Stop getting stuck in the middle of your draft. Go grab this free worksheet, nancypanuccio.com/act. Feedback should feel more like a collaboration. You have your vision of the story, you have your intention for the story, and the feedback should be aligned with what you're trying to convey. Writer Unleashed is for you, a writer who has a story you want to bring onto the page and into the hearts and minds of readers. I'm Nancy Panuccio, writer, editor, and book coach. Each week, we'll explore techniques, mindsets, and inspiration for writing stories readers can't put down. Thanks for spending some time with me today. Now, let's begin. Okay, you've finally shared your pages with someone. Maybe it was a critique partner, a writing group, a coach, a beta reader. You were nervous, but hopeful, maybe even excited. And then the feedback came, and now you're spiraling. Maybe they pointed out something you thought you'd nailed, or they didn't understand your main character, or they told you something that deep down you already feared might be true. And now the voice in your head is getting louder. Am I even a good writer? Do I have what it takes? Should I just stop now? What made me think I could even write this story? Those are the gremlins that are trying to keep you safe. We all have them, especially when we're on the cusp of growth. So today, we're talking about what to do when feedback, no matter how well-intentioned, shakes your confidence. Because it's going to happen, and how you respond to it is what makes all the difference. So if you're in that fragile post-feedback haze right now, I've got you. Let's breathe through it and make a plan. First, why does feedback feel so personal? Well, here's the thing. Writing is personal. Even if you're writing fantasy or satire, even if your characters are nothing like you, there's still something of you on the page. Your voice, your obsessions, your fears, your longings, even when we're creating something out of whole cloth. So when someone critiques your writing, it can feel like they're critiquing you, not your scene, you. Not your plot, your instincts. It's not just about craft. It's about your identity as a writer. That's what's at stake. So of course it feels deeply uncomfortable. Of course it triggers defensiveness or shame or crippling self-doubt. But I want you to know that reaction is completely normal. The trick is to move past it quickly and start implementing the areas of your story that fill in the gaps your readers have flagged. Now, when I first started writing fiction and submitting my work for feedback and writing workshops, the feedback was generous and overwhelmingly positive. But as I learned years later, when I was in grad school, those workshops were doing me a disservice because they weren't critical enough, meaning the teachers weren't telling me what narrative techniques I needed to master to make these stories hold together in any compelling way. They were focused on the writing, not the story itself. My stories needed a lot of work. I hadn't yet learned the craft elements particular to story writing. The voice was strong. I had a knack for vivid descriptions, but the story didn't pull together. I didn't know what I didn't know. So in grad school, my first workshop really made me feel like I didn't belong in the program. Now, as the semester went on and the next semester, I worked with different mentors. First, I worked with Abby Frucht, who was able to show me the possibilities that a better command of the craft would bring to my work. And so instead of feeling diminished, I felt energized. I wanted to learn the craft. I was excited about my work's possibilities. So let's say the feedback has landed and you're sitting with that emotional sting. Well, what do you do now? First, don't rush to defend your story. Let the feedback settle. Let yourself breathe. Then when you're ready, look at it more objectively. Ask yourself, does this feedback align with my vision for the story? That is the first question you need to ask, because not every piece of feedback is going to be relevant. Even my mentors at grad school occasionally suggested a different ending or a different angle from my story. And I knew that was the wrong ending or angle for the story I was trying to tell. So you have to ask, is this a craft note or a stylistic preference? A craft note is valid. Maybe the point of view isn't strong or vivid, or maybe there are too many story conflicts and the story's getting muddled with no clear through line. But when a reader starts imposing their ideas about how you should write your story, you really need to ignore that. You also have to ask, is this person the right reader? Does this person understand the kind of story you're trying to tell? Feedback should feel more like a collaboration. You have your vision of the story, you have your intention for the story, and the feedback should be aligned with what you're trying to convey. You never want someone to tell you how to write your story. Rather, to help you write the story you're trying to write, the story you intend to write. The parts of the feedback that sting the most often point to something important, but you still need to be selective about whose feedback you take in and whose feedback you try to implement. So maybe it's a clarity issue. Maybe your intention didn't make it to the page, or maybe it hit a nerve because you already suspected it. But that doesn't mean your story's a failure. It just means your story's in motion. It's evolving, and that's a good thing. Okay, so let's talk about rebuilding your confidence, because you can absorb helpful critique and stay rooted in your voice, in your vision. So here are a few things you can do to come back to center. Number one, reconnect with something you've written that you love. Reread a scene or a chapter or even a sentence that felt effortless. Let it remind you what you're capable of. Often writers will start strong, but somewhere in the second act, the story starts to fall apart and loses its focus. But there's always something that's brilliant that came when the writer wasn't trying to get it right necessarily, or something they worked on and fine-tuned. Sometimes you'll be surprised about what's working based on the feedback you get. So maybe someone says, wow, I found this really moving, and maybe you didn't expect it. And the reason is because you did it effortlessly. It came naturally to you. It probably came when you were more relaxed and receptive. But whatever that is, you want to reconnect with the parts of the story that you're in love with, that resonate for you. Okay, number two, revisit your why. Why are you writing this story? Why do you care about it? What was the initial spark that drove you to write it in the first place? Revisit the first time this story came to you. Maybe it was a memory or some spark of inspiration that you got, something that drove you to write the story in the first place. Revisit that moment. It's so important to reconnect with your why for writing the story in the first place. Okay, number three, limit how many voices are in your ear. Too much feedback can dilute your vision and make you doubt what you're writing. So choose 1 to 2 trusted readers. You want to protect your process. Not every piece of feedback is going to be relevant. So, for example, maybe you get 11 different pieces of feedback and they seem to be disparate in the way that they're presented, or they're just different, and some ring true and some don't. You don't have to take every piece of feedback, nor should you. Just take one or two pieces of feedback that resonate for you. Trust your vision of the story. This is really important because sometimes writers will try to please everyone who gave them feedback. They're trying to write by committee, and that's the wrong approach. Just listen to the feedback. You will know instinctively what is relevant to you and what you could discard. So don't try to please everyone. Please yourself. Take the feedback that feels the most aligned with the story you're trying to tell. Okay, number 4, write something small just for you. A flash scene, a letter from your character, a paragraph with no goal except to reconnect with the joy of language. And here's a question you can ask yourself right now. What part of this story am I still proud of? Find that place and anchor there. Every writer, every single one, has had their confidence rattled by feedback. It doesn't matter how many books you've written or how many accolades you've earned. It still stings, but it doesn't have to define you. Feedback is not a verdict. It's just information. So think of your early drafts as an experiment. Feedback helps you learn what's working and what's not. And often the things that are working, you aren't even aware of. What's working can also surprise you. And more importantly, learning how to process feedback without crumbling is a skill in itself. It's a crucial skill, but it's one that will happen over time. I promise. It means you're growing into not just a better writer, but a stronger storyteller, one who knows how to discern, interpret, and integrate feedback without losing yourself in the process. That is real progress. So if you're sitting in that vulnerable post-feedback fog right now, number 1, reconnect with something you've written that you love. Number 2, revisit your why. Number 3, limit how many voices are in your ear. Number 4, write something small just for you. You're not alone. You're not doing this wrong. You're becoming. And your story is also in the process of becoming what it wants to be. So let the feedback inform you, not define you. Come back to the page, come back to the sentence, and come back to your voice. So there you have it. Thanks for hanging out with me today. If you know any writers who need some support in their writing, please share this episode or the Writer Unleashed podcast in general. And if you love what you're listening to, subscribe on your favorite listening platform. And if you're listening on Apple, please leave me a review. Reading how this podcast impacts your writing truly lights me up and helps me create topics for the show. Till next time, keep writing, and I'll talk to you soon.